Hello, everyone. This is the Azubu Collegiate Champions. Thank you all for joining us today. We have some very exciting games lined up for you between the University of Waterloo versus Wilfrid Laurier University. And this should be a very interesting matchup because these two schools are actually very close to one another, two very large universities with two very active StarCraft 2 schools. Today I'm going to be, I am Shindigs, and today I'll be casting with a good friend, John Paul, aka Shirohige. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm excited to see some StarCraft this early in the morning.
Yeah,
but like you said, I mean, the benefit of obviously having such close StarCraft 2 schools is they can go beat each other up if they lose the game or someone cheeses too much, which is really fun.
Yeah, of course. So, for those of you who don't know, and you can't tell by his accent, John Paul is actually from Australia, so it's super early in the morning for him. So thank you so much for joining me today as we cast these really awesome Collegiate StarCraft 2 games. So again, guys, we're going to be right back after a short intro video, and we're going to jump right into these games. Don't go anywhere. All right, and here we are in the game, spawning as the Green Zerg. We have the Pied Piper playing for Wilfrid Laurier University, and as the Blue Protoss, Kangpo for the University of Waterloo here on Tal'Darim Altar.
The benefit of obviously having Tal'Darim Altar is it's kind of an interesting one. A lot of players have kind of mixed reactions to this map. Most people are a little bit curious as to how it still happens to be in pools, but at the same time it's still got some interesting strategies. Fortunately enough, they will be cross spawns, so they're not going to have to worry about too much crazy cheese coming through very early on. They should be able to scout it fairly effectively, especially with the Solnagas available to them. Just throwing down a probe in one of those locations gives them a pretty large amount of map vision.
Yeah, and again, let's talk about these schools for a minute. So the University of Waterloo is a very, very strong StarCraft 2 school and actually has a really big gaming following on campus. They play a variety of esports games and just game in general, so there's a really large pool of talent that they can draw from their school, so they're very lucky to have that. And they also made their own custom StarCraft 2 jerseys, so when your club does that, it means you're definitely dedicated to the game. But you know, Wilfrid Laurier actually has their own custom Wilfrid Laurier StarCraft 2 team jerseys as well. We saw both these schools at the Princeton LAN earlier this year with the Princeton CSL LAN, and they came all the way down to from Canada to go to Princeton University to compete. So these are two very dedicated StarCraft 2 schools, and it's really interesting to see how the team play mechanic works out between two clubs that are very tight-knit such as these.
Well, as you said, looking like we saw the Forge go down, not going to be a Forge fast expand with this probe being very cheeky and throwing down what looks to be three pylons actually walling off between the Zerg bases. It should be able to hold on there. No cannon as of yet, obviously, given the fact he's waiting for that pylon to open. He hasn't been very subtle about this one. Should be curious.
No, I mean, that's the perfect way to describe it. That is pretty cheeky, but there goes the first photon cannon. This is going to be really hard for the Pied Piper to hold here. I mean, he's going to break through that first pylon, but I think it might be too late. There we go, a gateway. That's new.
Yeah. I mean, the gateway obviously does. He probably will cancel the gateway. I mean, it's not likely that he's going to be trying to spawn zealots inside there, especially with the Queen. I imagine he would be expecting a Queen to be inside the main as well. I would really like to see the Pied Piper cancel this one just to be on the safe side though for this hatch, because his hatch is about to start taking the damage. No, unfortunately it does finish off though.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a really unfortunate situation for him. And now second cannon is going down for Kangpo right now, and this might actually, this could turn into a really quick win if the Pied Piper doesn't play this correctly. Two cannons in your natural without canceling it is pretty tough to deal with. He is building a Spine Crawler, so he might be able to kill those cannons since they actually have pretty low health, but this is looking pretty like a really tricky situation to get out of, especially with the pylon wall there.
I mean, okay, the fact that he's gone for this hatch, if you look, he's got complete vision of Kangpo's base, so he knows that there's actually no defense inside Kangpo's base. If he ran in a bunch of zealots, he's going to be, ran in a bunch of links, he's only going to use those probes to defend. So he may send this group of lings that he's now just spawning in at the expansion straight into the base, do a little bit of damage, and try and kind of balance it out in an encode stage. He'll get into 9 mining it for the second, and at the same time just throw those lings inside the neural line and do some decent damage.
Yeah,
it looks like he actually died the cannons. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a bit weird that he chose to do that. I mean, it kind of was the right idea because the broodlings were kind of tanking some of the cannon damage, but then he didn't target the right cannon in my opinion. But now the Spine Crawler's in place. It's actually really close to dying right now. I mean, he's gonna start moving it back. He actually moves it back, which is a really interesting choice. I think he could actually... Oh, he only has 3 Zerglings.
Straight.
Yeah, that's not good.
The fact that the creep's going as well is kind of making him live on borrowed time. But if you look at the supplies are fairly even, 26 to 27, so no one actually having a major advantage. That Nexus still being warped in, just finishing off now. Double gas available. Yet he hasn't actually produced anything with this gas. So he went with the double gas, but I think he could have probably traded that into just more minerals.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we actually take a look at the Harvester count, the Zerg player, the Pied Piper for Wilfrid Laurier, is actually like 10 drones, or like almost 11 drones behind his opponent, who has 28 probes to 17 drones, and that's just putting Waterloo at a very big advantage now, especially now he's getting up 2 bases, and he is actually, I mean, he's had this contained for such a long time. He has 2 bases up. He just started Warp Gate research. I mean, this is going to be a really, really tricky game for the Pied Piper to win. He is throwing down a macro hatchery, though, but I really fail to see like what kind of miracle strategy he can pull out to come back from this.
I would have liked to have seen his response. Oh, we're actually going to be able to collect a lot of those pylon. But yeah, I would have liked to see him go for that strategy as a Spine Crawler gets taken out by a drone. That's not something you say every day. And
yeah, that... Sorry,
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that hero probe actually killing the one Spine Crawler that was so close to dying, but right now he's extending his creep, excuse me, the Pied Piper is extending his creep to his natural expansion, is retaking his natural. That's probably the smartest thing he can do right now, along with having that natural hatchery, the macro hatchery, excuse me, and I mean, he might try to go for some kind of bust or timing attack in the moment, because he's so far behind, he just needs to make some kind of all-in work at the moment, but Kangpo just has to hold off whatever aggression that the Pied Piper is planning right now, and he might wrap this game up really soon. We'll just have to see, because Kangpo could still slip this up.
Yeah, I mean, he really needs to just hold at this stage. The Ling's not going to be able to find a way into that base. Back out. At the same time, though, I would have liked to see him employ Katy Perry's strategy, which I think it was Katy Perry who was playing last week, and their response to this kind of wall and with this cannon harass cheese was to essentially just go for the Nidus Worm inside the enemy's base. He had the probe, well, he has the Overlord available for that vision and all that kind of stuff. Looks like a proxy pylon going to be warped in inside the natural yet again. Should be just in a decent enough position to throw down a cannon straight after.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment that that he could definitely go for a Nidus kind of strategy, because he really needs to do something wacky at the moment to get back in this game. And well, that's actually pretty interesting. He canceled the proxy pylon. I think he could have definitely.
He's going for Nidus now.
Oh, he is now going for Nidus. Okay. I mean, I was gonna say Kangpo could have actually just done a bit more harassment. I think he could afford to lay down 1 or 2 more cannons just to keep his opponent in his base. And look at the harvester count again. It's actually like 20 harvesters and 50 probes at the moment for Kangpo. So Waterloo is looking to start off really, really strong here.
He should just walk in a bunch of sentries and hold off. Because essentially, the longer he holds, the more ridiculous his advantage is going to become. The Pied Piper needs to try and make a trade, but he can't trade really effectively into this wall without bailings. Doesn't really have the gas to invest in it, and at the same time, a roach push at 11, 12 minutes when it finally hits is probably way too delayed to any form of damage.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Kingpo is in a position to just do any silly things he wants. I mean, he could have canceled Warp Gate research and used mind games and did +1 air attack and got +1 foot race. I mean, oh, there we go. That is one actually coming up in the base with a good number of roaches and some Zerglings too. So here they come right into the main base. I think once Kingpo holds this off, it's going to be over. And this is a 6-gate against Nidosaur here. This is not looking very good for the Piper or Wilfrid Laurier, and here comes the warping reinforcements from the Stalkers. And yeah, the Force Wheel's doing a really nice job there, and I think Kingpo's going to clean this up very, very easily.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. I mean, he was trying to bait them out to the front to get them away from the base and not see it, but he was happening to warp in just at the same time. So I caught him a little bit off guard there. But that is going to be game number 1, and that's going straight to the University of Waterloo.
Yeah, I mean, that is GG right there. So, I mean, congrats to Waterloo starting off very, very strong there with very nice, almost cheesy cannon strategy. But, I mean, a one in the game, you got to do what you got to do in these games. So, guys, that was game 1. It's currently 1-0 up for the University of Waterloo. Thanks for sticking with us, and we're going to go into a quick commercial break right now. And when we get back, we're going to get into game number 2 between the University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University. Stick around.
They say the world has changed. Truth is...
Base.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is game number 2 between the University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University. In the bottom left position, we have the Red Zerg SC Monk, veteran and good friend of the Collegiate Star League and the Azubu Collegiate Champions. This guy's been playing in this league and coordinating his team for so long. He's kind of been everywhere, seen it all. So this is definitely a veteran player to look out for if you're interested in checking out one of our players in the Azubu Collegiate Champions. In the top right position, we got JC, the blue Protoss, here spawning here on ESV Cloud Kingdom, and he's going to be up against a pretty tough opponent, especially after that crippling loss for Wilfrid Laurier in game number 1. So he's going to have to put out some really clutch strategies right now to bring it back for Wilfrid Laurier.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to basically see them go for just a consistent team strategy of cheese. The whole team only knows cheese builds, 6 pool coming off straight away. That would be absolutely awesome. But we have reached the 13 supply, so looking to go for a pretty safe standard of play.
Yeah, I mean, for people who are a bit more familiar with the University of Waterloo, they know that they kind of practice the dark arts of Voldemort. If people kind of know what I'm saying, if they don't worry about it. But yeah, the Waterloo team, excuse me, does like to dabble in the dark arts a bit of StarCraft 2. But anyway, just a big shout out really quick to our sponsors, Azubu, for sponsoring and making this tournament happen. The Azubu Collegiate Champions, they reached out to us in the Collegiate Star League to really put together a really awesome and global intercollegiate esports league, and we both really share the same vision of making collegiate esports a really big component of the growth of competitive games. So a big shout out to the sponsors. Go ahead and follow them at facebook.com/Azubu Media. They're a really big entertainment and esports media company sponsoring two of the best League of Legends teams, Azubu Frost and Azubu, and also StarCraft 2's Violet. But let's get back to this game here. Really quick expansion here from JC with a Forge in the background, and SC Monk's also going to go for a hatch after pull as well.
That is so ballsy, JC's play. I don't get it. Like, why is he throwing the Forge in the background against Zerg?
I don't know. Like I said, man. I mean, this could be mind games. Like, they know Waterloo's pretty deep in the dark arts, so that they're doing this Forge in the background there. I actually don't know. So I mean, you could maybe enlighten.
Yeah, it's kind of, okay. Maybe he's wanting to throw it. Like, he's got the Nexus out completely in the open, complete visibility there. Has the low ground pylon. Maybe he wants to save time with mining. I'm guessing. Like, he just didn't want to go the distance and obviously save some travel time. Get about, I think, 2 collections of minerals, but he's oversaturated inside his main anyway, so it's not necessarily a major issue. Ling's going to clean up the proxy. Okay. He was trying to cannon rush, that's why. So he was hiding it inside his base. Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, JC trying to pull some of the dark arts there as well, but it's easily deflected by SC Monk, who is pretty experienced in deflecting these cannon rushes from any opponent, especially his practice partners. Now he's going to send a couple Lings across the map, and this might be pretty bad news here for Wilfrid Laurier. He doesn't have a wall off yet. Oh, he needs to get the gateway up, and that still isn't wall off completely. So he has a few Lings in his base that he has to deal with.
I think he just counts the rest of his wall up as well, which is curious to say the least. But you're going to throw down a photon cannon inside the mirror line. And with this many probes, you should be able to defend it against the Lings. Will probably take about 2 losses, I imagine, if he does commit into the kind of battle out.
Well, yeah, JC's actually handling this pretty well. He hasn't lost a lot of probes yet. The cannon's actually halfway done, and he had pretty impressive micro there. He doesn't lose any probes, weakens the Zerglings significantly, and now the Zerglings are going to go down to natural expansion and try harassment there. Actually, don't see him losing any probes. He keeps up this micro.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's running back and forth between the photon cannons, trying to really bait the Zerglings in, which is really cool to see. At the same time, though, it looks like he's going to lose another pylon. This is the 3rd pylon he's actually lost. I think maybe he counted that one. There is still a pylon inside the Zerg base, because why not? The Zerg needs some decorations too. It's a bit of an exotic Zerg base.
Exactly. Well, I mean, he's not doing anything with that pylon, and that pylon can't really do anything either with the Queen there. I mean, might as well just leave it there and just kill it off when it's inconvenient. Give him a false sense of supply security, I guess. So right now, Monk is actually going to go ahead and take a 3rd base. I think that's a really smart thing to do, as he has JC distracted right now. Losing 2 probes, actually, for JC. And he has JC distracted with the Zerglings in his base, so he's going to go ahead and take his 3rd, while JC tries to clean up everything that just happened in his natural.
Yeah, well, exactly that. I mean, he did obviously get a huge amount of scouting information, saw the fact that there was the 2 gases up, so also got more or less the timing on that cybernetics core coming through as well, so he's going to be aware that the warp gate is going to be slightly delayed. So if he is going to pressure, early game is definitely going to be the time to do it. He does currently have about a 20 supply lead heading into the mid game, not to mention the fact that despite the fact that JC had a little bit of a gain in the early economy, not really panning out too well, having to shuffle around those probes as excessively as he did. And that pylon has finally been cleaned up inside the Zerg base.
Yeah, I mean, right now Monk is just playing super standard right now. I think he knows he's pretty well ahead. He's actually 56 drones to 36 probes of his opponent, so he's feeling, if he knows, he's probably feeling really comfortable right now if he's aware of how far ahead he is against his opponent. Going to pick off that Zella right now, and I think very little scouting is going to come out of JC. He's basically going to have to play blind at the moment. It'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy he goes for, because I think he does feel like there's a bit of a deficit for him right now. Ooh, he actually is going to opt to go Dark Shrine.
He's went behind Dark Shrine, which is absolutely awesome. I'm excited. He's not using the Chronos on the Cyber Core, which is a little bit interesting, but I guess he'll free that up when he gets an opportunity. Going to be pushing forward with the Stalker just to go through and scout to make sure that there are no more Overlords lingering around.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, the last game, he definitely could get Nidused. like we saw in the last game. So, I mean, he just wants to make sure nothing funny is going to happen. I mean, the likelihood of a Nidus happening after harassment like that is kind of fairly low because you would expect your opponent to play more standard and expand and like get more ahead. Right now, he's doing a pretty good job. He's actually getting catching up in probe count, 50 probes to 70 drones at the moment. And if this Dark Shrine works out good for him, he could actually swing the game back into his favor.
I like Monk, though. Monk has been a little bit cautious in this play. He's obviously gone for an Overseer inside his main base as well, so he's going to be pretty prepared for that. He realizes that JC is going to need something large to get back into the game, and basically as a result can just sit back on his base, just go through and farm, make sure he's got an Overseer at each base. He's actually got a Spore Crawler even down inside his third, so completely defended in case any Dark Templars try and make a run by.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, you just get kind of Dark Templar paranoia if you play this game enough. So you have detection everywhere. Overlords, unfortunately, do not have detection in StarCraft 2 like they do in Brood War, but that's okay because he has Overseers planted very nicely at each base, almost Brood War-esque, in an almost Brood War-esque kind of way. He's actually going to go for some really good aggression right here. Excuse me, JC doesn't have a lot of units at the moment. This aggression could do quite a bit of damage.
That was actually some decent force fields. That was a really good force field. He actually managed to prevent most of the Zealot taking nigh any damage. He's going to lose yet another Pylon. And going to be running a whole bunch of Zealots inside his base, so trading off with Lings and Roaches is going to be extremely difficult. It looks as though they're going to come out very much so ahead. He's funneling through quite a few of them. Does manage to get the first Zealot down, second Zealot down as well.
Yeah, this is going to be really tricky now that the Roaches have broken through. I mean, oh my goodness, he's literally just shoving a ton of Roaches into the natural of JC's base at the moment, and he can't really warp in that many gateways. Actually, these are the only gateways he has, the 3 in the front, and he's desperately trying to build like 4 more in his main base. All his gateways have gone, all his warp gates, excuse me, have gone unpowered.
Yeah, that's kind of... He should have really had an auxiliary pylon, probably like in the background somewhere, so it's not to be poked out when you have these Roach pushes. I'm a little bit surprised though, that whole attack could have been pretty well defended had he used the Dark Templars he'd invested in. I mean, he had heaps of resources, so I'm curious with that last warp in why he went for Zealots over Dark Templar.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point to make, and I think we missed it. I may have missed it earlier in the cast, but he did. JC did sneak some Dark Templar into SC Monk's base, but by then it was way too late. He had already sustained too many losses. But yeah, that is game number 2, a very strong 2-0 lead for the University of Waterloo. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, it's going to be game number 3, where Wilfrid Laurier really has to bring it back. Otherwise, they actually lose the entire match. It is a best-of-5 Pro League format here at the Azubu Collegiate Champions. So we're going to take a really quick break, and we're going to see if Wilfrid Laurier can bring it back in a 2v2 game. Stick around, guys.
Dirty bass.
Alrighty guys, we are back finally.
Alright guys, we are back. Sorry, I quit earlier. I am Shindigs, one of the CSL Collegiate Star League admins, and I'm joined today with MYM's caster Shiro Hige, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, all the way from Australia. Awesome.
Yes.
So he's all the way from Australia, and if you can't tell by his lovely little accent, but he's joining us really early in the morning in Australia to cast these awesome games between the University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University. It is currently a 2-0 lead for the University of Waterloo, and they're fielding one of the strongest 2v2 teams that CSL's ever seen, so it's going to be really tough for Wilfrid Laurier to come back right now. They really do need to come back at the moment, and if there's a game like that you can turn the momentum in a Azubu Collegiate Champions match, it is going to be the 2v2 match.
I'm actually really excited for this one because, as you were saying before, they practice the dark arts, and in 2v2s we've seen the guys play fairly standard so far. I want to see something crazy. I want to see, I don't know, well, he's going for a 9-pull, so that's pretty crazy. But at the same time, like, I want to see them just go all out, Ling bust, or Ling Bailing bust with some Marines thrown in there as well. Maybe even siege tanks and infestors, something really cool.
Yeah, I mean, 2v2 is definitely a breeding ground for the dark arts. And just a little background info of La 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 and Eloquist. I know I'm a bit more familiar with the Waterloo team, so apologies to Wilfrid Laurier if I don't know too much about them, aside that they're super enthusiastic enough to make their own StarCraft 2 jerseys. But I know La 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 and Eloquist are also kind of veterans of CSL 2v2. So these two guys, not only are they pretty good at StarCraft 2, they're especially good at 2v2 as they've been playing with each other for quite some time. And like you mentioned earlier, Shiro, the dark arts does definitely manifest itself in the 2v2 matchup.
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's so many combinations that really, I would like to say they've been worked out because we're about 2 years into the game development, so people should really know what the 2v2 skills are. It's just that I don't think a massive amount of time has been spent really exploring some of the possibilities to the extent of obviously solo. But it looks as though La 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 actually going to block off a bunch of Zerglings there, which is kind of cool. We'll force them back. Quite a few going to be streaming down to the bottom left, but it should be fairly safe with just that one Marine holding off on the high ground. Decent enough defensive position. Yeah,
and excuse me, I've been mispronouncing Wilfrid Laurier, which is a French name, so it's Wilfrid Laurier University versus University of Waterloo. And actually, these two race picks here, Terran Zerg, is actually kind of the sign of more experienced 2v2 players. We see a lot more Terran Zerg matchups. Terran Zerg partners, excuse me, because people feel like this is really the strongest 2v2 combination in the right hands, and it can be really, really deadly in the right hands of a 2v2 player. And actually, Wilfrid Laurier doing some pretty good aggression right here on Eloquist. I mean, this is gonna distract him really well. This might even pressure his opponent to move out, or pressure his partner to move out as well.
What would be really cool is if you threw like Bailings or a bunch of Lings there and tried to bait out the Terran.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't attack Terran straight up, but as soon as the Terran moves out, it's really beautiful position for the Zerg to be able to clean up entirely all of them, but doesn't get the push he needs. Even throwing down a bunker actually to be defensive enough.
Well, check out Wilfrid Laurier's base right now. NMC of Wilfrid Laurier is actually getting his reactor blocked by an engineering bay from La La La. So La 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 pulling out the super dark arts right now, some crazy shenanigans, preventing him from getting that reactor upgrade for his factory. So he's going to be stuck making one factory at a time, or one Hellion at a time, excuse me. Now a few Zerglings are actually going to come down. That's actually pretty smart. I mean, all those Zerglings can't really get the surface area there to destroy that engineering bay.
Oh man, that is so cool. And the best part about it is he waited so long to the end to let it finish. He was just going to cancel it as well. That's going to be super frustrating. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, that is... There we go. There he cancels it, and that is pretty smart, but also really frustrating for the Wilfrid Laurier team. But now they're going to go back and counter, so I mean, XS Design for Wilfrid Laurier has actually done a pretty good job of getting good map control with those speedlings at the moment. Eloquist actually has kind of an equal amount of Zerglings, but I would kind of skew the advantage for XS Design at the moment of Wilfrid Laurier. But actually Eloquist is going to go ahead and take his natural expansion and put himself ahead base count wise.
I'm pretty sure also, you know that SCV that built the engineering bay?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's still alive as well, inside. Actually, just did get taken out by those linked double queens for orange.
Yeah. But yeah, that play was pretty funny. I will admit. That is definitely some Dark Art shenanigans right there. And Eloquist at the moment... Actually, Eloquist... Oh, excuse me, I thought he was getting bunker rushed, but no, that is his teammate building a bunker there to protect him. That's pretty smart as well. You don't want any crazy Zergling run-bys with Hellions. This is actually a really smart strategy, using Hellions at Zerglings, one of the two of the fastest units in the game, to really gain map control here.
Well, especially when he starts to max them up, and it makes a good cover for him to start transitioning into those Banshees. He has to float on the way. But the Queen will get picked up pretty much for free. Second Queen looking to go down. He's starting to push further into the base.
Yeah, this is actually not looking too good for Lokius at the moment. I mean, he's let a lot of Zerglings, a good number of Hellions into his base. He's losing a good number of drones as well, and also loses the Queen. That's actually pretty bad for the University of Waterloo at the moment. And I think there's going to be a lot of drones going down here before the last Hellion gets picked off. And there we go. Lalala is going to actually reinforce his partner's base with a bunker and a few Marines. That's actually really smart as well. And since he's walled off, he can definitely feel comfortable of no backstabs occurring in his own base.
Raven going to be on the way. Maybe Mass Raven could be a possibility, or could just be using them for that roach detection. Yeah, the one thing I'm kind of surprised that a lot more people aren't building just mass infester in these 2v2 situations, just with how, I suppose, imbo people are conceiving infestors to be at this stage. Because mass infester would be really good.
We've actually seen that. Like, you're right. Like, it's not as common as a 1v1, but definitely in 2v2 teams, they definitely take advantage of the infester, the mass infester composition, especially since backstabs in 2v2 can be very, very deadly. So you can definitely bro infestors and just launch disgusting amount of infested Terrans at a random number of bases.
Banshee finishing up very shortly, then I imagine we'll see the push out. He does not really have anything to really do with it. He does... Yeah, there we see Banshee Harass actually already starting inside his base. Reactor on the way, so he opted for the reactor in preference. I'm surprised he has enough energy for a scan, but going to just keep the two Marines there, just to keep on checking the front door.
Yeah.
Okay, actually going to wait for the Vikings to clean that up. Not a bad choice either.
Yeah, the Raven there, using the Raven there for detection, that is pretty good. What's interesting to note, actually, just about this map overall, iCup Deconstructed, is we've introduced a new 2v2 map pool into the Azubu Collegiate Champions, which was actually not there before. We used to use Blizzard standard maps, but with these new iCup maps designed by the talented map maker Prodigy, we've seen a lot of really cool games emerge out of this. As you can see now, we're around the 10-minute, 40-second mark, and nothing too crazy has happened yet, and the game looks like it's going to advance well into a really late mid-game, or like just a late game. So everything's looking up with this new map.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of less successful cheese strategies to be basically employed, which is really good to see, because now you get to see some the full girth of 2v2 plays.
Yes. Girth is definitely a word I would describe 2v2. Alright, and another run side here.
What is happening inside that base? Everything on hold command around the Queen, just shielding it. That is beautiful to see.
Yeah,
Splash damage.
That is super unfortunate for Alopuus. He's just been getting hit hard this entire game from Wilfrid Laurier University, and he's actually going to go ahead and lose his lair here. Oh, that's pretty bad, because it was actually it was close to being done. Now Lalala has to definitely help out his opponent, help out his partner here, as these Zerglings are doing quite a bit of damage, and these Speedlings are just kind of streaming in one after another. I think this is actually going to be the end of the aggression from Wilfrid Laurier University, but he's actually going to take that advantage and turn it into a third base for himself, as Waterloo University is going to have to just try to get back on their feet.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much summarized. I'm not really sure how they're going to try and come back from this one. 2v2 is pretty ridiculous to get back in the game. It's just kind of really snowbally in terms of what happens in scenarios. They really need to snipe maybe an enemy base or start looking for that third expansion. I guess if they take out the rocks that Blizzard loves so dearly, they might be able to get back a little bit quicker. Maybe take two bases there for the Zerg.
Yeah. I mean, let's check his minerals. I mean, he actually doesn't have too many minerals. The Zerg player for University of Waterloo, Localist, doesn't have too many minerals to re-expand. And La is on top of his macros, so he doesn't have too many floating minerals to lend to his opponent. Or, excuse me, lend to his partner, 2v2 tongue twisters. But this is actually going to be like a really silly thing to say. But if you're down one partner in 2v2, the best race you could probably be is just Terran. Just because you just like turtle and like cross your fingers and hope you can get like a crazy 3-3 mech or bio army and just move out and just like cross your fingers for like disgusting StarCraft 2 shenanigans to happen over two opponents.
Well, the great thing about Terran is they have a whole bunch of units that trade really effectively. For example, like Planetary Fortress is a great unit. Exactly. Planetary Fortress is all over the base. I mean, it's crazy as all hell. Looks as though the Viking will get taken out though by the other two Vikings. Blue. Bit of race wars there, obviously. Blue Vikings not liking the red ones.
Yeah, I mean that aggression that was actually shut down really quickly. La is gonna. Yeah, I mean right now access design for Wilfrid Laurier is on 3 bases. He has a lair. He's going infestation pit. So if he goes that mass infestor strategy, it's going to look pretty bleak for La and the Locuist of the University of Waterloo. So, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, I think they're kind of thinking the same thing I'm thinking right now. Just kind of turtle up and cross your fingers and like hope you get a really cost-effective trade, because if you trade really well, you can swing the game almost into a victory for yourself.
I'm really surprised that they allowed Aethelus to have obviously that tower control for so long, but now finally we are going to see it get cleaned up by XS Design. It sounds like an ad for a design company you would have, XS Design. Some form of architecture company, like XS Design, doing ads in StarCraft now. That'd be freaking awesome. But anyway, we're starting to see those infestors. 5 infestors going to be on the way, 6 roaches, but a massive Terran ball of just Marines and tanks, which is really cool to see, because we finally get to see that Terran tank and basically infestor composition that I've been wanting to see so much, just because infestors are great at locking down units, and then tanks with all that splash damage do quite a ridiculous amount also, and also get the benefit of keeping the opponents at range.
Yeah, here we see a drop from NFC, and like this is going to be really tough for La to hold off, because not only does he have to help defend his partner, he has to now defend his own base. And he thought he was pretty well turtled up, and I thought he was pretty well turtled up, but this drop play from NFC definitely exposing a weakness in Lala's base overlay. So right now, Locus is actually going to try to do a little flank here over on NFC, but he has to really be careful of the siege tanks from Wilfrid Laurier. And Access Design doesn't actually have that many. Oh, he has actually just spawned a good number of infestors, complement a lot of Zerglings here. And I think Aloquius and Lala are going to have to make something really crazy happen at the moment. Otherwise, Lala might lose his entire base along with Aloquius.
I think this is a good time for the Ultimus drops. But anyway, Ling's going to be starting to run straight in, catching 2 of these tanks unsieged. We're going to shut them down very quickly.
Yeah. And that's actually not the most efficient trade for the Zerg player of Wilfrid Laurier. So he's going to back up very smartly there, and I think he should definitely utilize his infestors to do some kind of multi-pronged attack. Of course, it takes a lot of a multitasking here, but actually we're going to see the University of Waterloo's Aloquius is going to go straight for a counterattack against Wilfrid Laurier, and this actually might be the really smart move they need to get back in this game. Lala actually catching a lot of Zerg reinforcements out of position, and they're going to all clump up the middle here for a really big engagement.
Yep, Infestor's going to get picked off still, and there's a lot of energy left on them actually, so I'm surprised they haven't been free. Yep, Fungal is good onto the Marines, and then we'll give the opportunity for the Terran units to come through, siege up, and basically take care of the remaining units very low. But I know Fungal also, just kind of hiding in between the two is really difficult to see actually. It's just a solid, great positioning from X Design and NMC.
NMC, yeah, it is difficult to say just consonants without any vowels. But, I mean, NMC, Wilfrid Laurier is definitely keeping the pressure up. They might actually turn the series around for Wilfrid Laurier University, as they've been doing some pretty nice contains and harassments the entire game, really putting the University of Waterloo against the wall. But look here, Lala has decided to take his 3rd base and is mealing up at all his bases at the moment. So he is really hoping to make this game last into the late game and maybe hopefully just get some really good cost-efficient engagement.
No, the Roach went. Oh gosh, unfortunately the roach just got caught a little bit going up that ramp and it's going to cost him. Oh, he actually managed to get out without losing any. But that being said, 0-1 upgrades with 1-0 upgrades moving into the engagement. It looks as though it's going to heavily fail the blue turret. And that actually forces the enemies back.
Well, this is going to be really tricky because NMC has like about 11 tanks to, I think, just like one of or I mean, one on the field. He has a couple of tanks defending at his home base, but this is so tricky for the University of Waterloo right now because somehow they have to get a really good flank on the tanks. And now a drop from NSC into Locust's base. He's going to lose the spawning pool. I think his targeting is down. Yes, there it goes. But he doesn't target down the upgrades, which is going to allow his opponent to get 2-0 on his roaches.
Actually, let me just take out the queen. Now we'll be able to switch onto that upgrade, but once to get rid of the roach warren first, it looks like. Oh my god, that's so small. Well, queen just got blown up there, actually trying to push through with the creep also.
And this game actually is just getting really crazy right now because we saw Lala try to go for a multi-pronged attack, cutting off reinforcements of the orange Zerg player from Wilfrid Laurier University. He's trying to buy himself as much time as possible as he tries to get a decent marine tank army up. Trying to check the upgrades here. He's not upgrading any tanks, but he's trying to go 3-3 marines for his bio. He's going to go for a drop as well in the Wilfrid Laurier Zerg's base at the moment. He might do a good amount of damage, but there's a lot of reinforcements here to come clean up that drop.
Yeah, exactly. And this is getting a really dangerous point for Locust as he's basically needing to look for an expansion. I mean, his Terran ally has basically out-expanded him at this stage. He doesn't have a huge amount of tech, and dealing with these drops is basically limiting all of his mining inside his main. As well as this kind of contain of tanks that is being really eloquently set up there.
Yeah, this is actually looking so grim for the University of Waterloo team, but they've been holding on like champs at the moment, and NFC is actually going to go in for the kill actually for Locust, but not until Lala is going to do what might be the final backstab attempt here. It's doing a little dance between the orange Zerg and himself because he doesn't want to get caught out of position.
Yeah, it's a definitely dangerous thing, especially with so many infestors. Terran just doing a nice job, does actually take out that third. Oh, I didn't realize Zerg expanded that. Okay. Zerg had expanded. Will get taken out though before it actually gets any real opportunity to mine from it. Looks like the initial engagement going through a lot of really good fun. We're actually going to collect most of these marines and force backfire and find the tanks. The Roach is not really too certain, I guess, how many tanks are in that composition, so backing out a little bit early. Got hit by those first two tanks.
Yeah, I mean, this, you know, as much as the University of Waterloo team is up against the wall, Loki is actually building a lot of infestors at the moment. They had the Wilfrid Laurier team hasn't been able to end the game, and this is because La has been dancing back and forth, trying to backstab his opponent, while he lets his partner recover. And this is actually a really good drop from La.
Just waiting on that vision before he can actually. It finally does actually get the vision. Now going to get a fungal on pretty much all of those units.
The slow overlords too, but this is actually turning out to be a really effective drop here from La. He's killing a lot of drones at that base, and he's going to force access design of Wilfrid Laurier to evacuate. And he's going to kill those. He really needs to kill his overlords so they don't get vision.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to be cleaned up really quickly. Does manage to get out of there with the 3 medivacs, I would imagine. There's nothing really to shoot up. Size of the marines at the south, so just some cutting play through that.
Exactly, and if we look at the bottom here, actually they've managed to break the contain of NMC, and La and Aloquius finally just wipe up a good amount of NMC's forces. And let's check the supplies here. NMC has 138 and La has 141, so actually they're still pretty even, but Aloquius and La are actually going to go in for a counterattack, and they really need to make this one count. Otherwise, they might fall back behind in this game. The advantage is the ball is in their court right now.
Yeah, those Marine Army actually looking really scary at this stage. May want to look to even try and copy that strategy a little bit. Throwing the tanks on the high ground wouldn't be too bad an idea. 3-3 upgrades just about to finish off here for our Blue Terran and NMC. Pushing a little bit on those rushes. Able to do quite a significant amount of damage. Fungal is now going to be a prospect that really invested out. Does manage to land some really nice bundles down a massive amount of range. It's going to hold the roaches into position and prevent them from really initiating too heavily onto this. Infestor's doing a really good job to allow those siege tanks to now move in and do a bit of a cleanup, but there's just too many roaches to make this work.
Yeah, this is looking pretty... Well, I've said this multiple times before, so excuse me, but this is looking really hard for Waterloo to come back from. Wilfrid Laurier is doing an extremely good job of keeping Waterloo on their toes, so that each counterattack is punished. And right now, Locust is going to lose. He almost lost an Infestor, which would have been really bad. And right now, Lala is going to come and try to reinforce his partner here. And he actually is killing off a lot of Infestors for X's Design. X's Design actually loses a lot of Infestors before Fungal can go off. And right now, those roaches are going to get cleaned up really quickly. La actually turning the tide here in that battle. This is really well played by Waterloo right now, but again, Wilfrid Laurier still has the advantage.
Every time you say that, it's just like, it sounds like one of those perfume brands. It's Zerg by Wilfrid Laurier. Like terrible.
It's pretty good. Essence from Laurier.
Real drop.
Well, right now, what's being dished out by Laurier right now is some pretty one-sided ownage at the moment, as they just take out the expansion here of La. So that was that kind of like a really not last-ditch effort, but he really needed that command center to be there in order to stay in this game. Right now, it's looking. God, I keep saying this, but it's just not looking good for Waterloo. I mean, it's just so unfortunate for them. Well, actually, it's not unfortunate because they're up 2-0, but Wilfrid Laurier is definitely bringing it back here. They've been playing so well and just making all the right decisions this entire game.
I think what NMC and XS Design are trying to do, now this is just a guess, I assume that they're trying to starve out their opponent of minerals. They've done a pretty good job of it so far, just denying those bases, and they realise they've got a little bit of better map control, so they're going to be able to do that for a long period of time. And now they've really forced the fight that they need, and they're going to be able to get some nice funds onto the majority of those Marines and Roaches, as well as these Marines going to be cleaning up pretty much the majority of their army in that last-ditch attempt if you're looking through at the red base. There's nothing that's got available to them unless they kind of get some godlike fungals. It's going to be difficult. Yeah,
this is, I mean, one thing to Waterloo's credit at the moment, as they've been up against the wall the entire game. Okay, I'm going to stop saying that, but one thing to the credit is actually Wilfrid Laurier's Infestor control has not been the greatest. They've been losing a lot of Infestors left and right before they can get Fungals off. And right now, Lala is going to go for a really deep kind of like penetrating attack into XS Design's base, and actually might catch his opponent out of position with not that many units. And as he's cleared up a lot of his opponent's Infestors, this attack could actually do a lot of damage, and he's actually getting sieged up with a lot of Infestor backup from a Locust. This attack might be really this attack might be bad news for Wilfrid Laurier.
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of put them off guard. They weren't expecting such a heavy assault coming through in the tanks, and Infestor doing a really nice job there of cleaning up and keeping that distance going. I'm kind of surprised to come back to this as well as they have, especially since Zerg was denied pretty much on two bases the majority of the game.
This is looking pretty good for Waterloo at the moment, and NMC is actually having a few Vikings pick off those medevacs. So very soon, Lala's not going to have a lot of medevacs to heal up his army if he's going to choose to sim. But if you take a look at the right side of the map, there's going to be another multi-pronged attack from Lala into NMC's base, and those aren't planetary fortresses. So these command centers are going to have to evacuate.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he didn't go for the planetaries. Like, he could have just used defensive planetaries. They work relatively well. But I guess, I mean, he was worried the fact that he went for tanks wouldn't be as effective. Broodlord's starting to make a little bit of an appearance here inside the Red Zerg army. At the same time, there's an excessively large number of siege tanks. Not too much we'll be able to do with these Broodlords though, so a really nice tech switch there.
Yeah, and this is scrappy tech switch as you saw, Alokius was like so far behind throughout the entire game, and somehow he scraped enough minerals, or they've minerals shared enough to tech up to a lot of Infestors and a good number of Broodlords now. And actually, they've kind of split up the attention of Wilfrid Laurier. I mean, they tried to go defend their CC, and that's allowed Waterloo to reinforce their position right at the front door of the Wilfrid Laurier team, and right now those Broodlords are going to force the issue because, oh my god, XS Design cannot lose these Infestors here because they might be very valuable in helping them defend. Oh my god, and they get fungal. looking really, really bad for those infestors. They might all fall without getting any fungals off. And, oh my goodness, University of Waterloo is actually... This might actually be a base race situation. I don't know, Wilfrid Laurier is actually kind of being a bit indecisive, moving his tanks back, moving them forward. I have no idea what they're doing. I think a lot of people are confused as exactly what is going on.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a whole bunch of barracks as well
so
that haven't basically got reacted. Yeah, like you're saying, pretty confusing. Marine's going to start to move through and clean up a ridiculous number of bikes.
And this is a really good engagement here from La at NMC's base. I mean, he's trading so well. He's 3-3. NMC's Marines are trying to click one, but they all die really quickly. They're only 3 armor, but zero attack upgrades. So actually, La has a really good upgrade advantage over his opponent.
Oh, and he's going straight for the Greatest Spire. And trying to remove those Broodlords. But Eloquist... I'm not sure. So who do you think is going to win this base race, essentially?
I have no idea. This is actually a really, really crazy base trade right now from NMC and
oh my god, over-invested generations. That is awesome.
This is actually absolutely insane. There's action happening at 4 different points on the map right now. Each of them really critical. Rue's going to come out on top of this game, and it's coming down to the wire here. And I think the advantage is going to have to go to Waterloo because they can literally make unlimited units with the Broodlords. And NMC is just doing his best to try to base race these 2 opponents. I mean, he doesn't have his partner, Axis Design. He doesn't have any of his units, so he's basically on his own right now with his Terran army, while Waterloo has both Terran and Zerg units to help base trade. And right now, NMC is trying to float to the center of the map. They know they could win this game. They just need to survive and trade effectively.
This would be a pretty epic 2v2 comeback, which is made nonetheless more amazing given the fact it's 2v2. Obviously 2v2 is pretty ridiculous to make a comeback, but looks as though trying to get those infestors in place. They do have a ridiculously large amount of energy, so maybe if they can attract the fights with good bundles, should be able to take them out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll also be really disgusting, but they gotta get past these tanks, and if they do, that is a disgusting amount of infested Terrans at the moment, and if those take out the tanks, it might be a good game for Laurier.
Yes, that is a lot, and unfortunately that is going to be GG.
And there it is, GG, a really well-played game from University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University, and that's going to give Waterloo the win here, 3-0 over Wilfrid Laurier, but that's not to count Wilfrid Laurier out. They played spectacularly the last 2v2 game, but I think just a couple of engagements there that were just not optimal. You know, they lost the Love Infestors. They did not keep up with upgrades, which is something we didn't really talk about, but they were actually down, they were up 3 in armor, but they were 0 in attack, while for Waterloo was 3-3, so that definitely did not work for Wilfrid Laurier.
They were just essentially they got a little bit greedy. They were making a lot more trades that they potentially could have been coming out of ahead of, just a bit sloppy. Basically, maybe feeling a little bit comfortable with the fact that they had done so well early on in the game and had such a strong advantage and lead in the beginning stages.
Yeah, I mean, those things happen. And in 2v2, it's really hard to tell because you can literally get backstabbed at so many different points in the game. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this game. We actually have another one coming up. So guys, stick around. It's going to be San Francisco State University versus Cal Poly California. Yeah, California. So this is going to be a California matchup next. We just had a Canadian matchup. But next up, it's going to be San Francisco State versus Cal Poly Pomona. 2 very awesome, active, and really good StarCraft 2 clubs battling it out. So stick around. We're going to be back right after this commercial break with game number 1 of that series. So stick around.